Do you want to get an LLC startup business loan with low documentation? Let's say you have an LLC and you just started like about a year, not a year ago, a month ago or 3 months ago, and you're looking for a startup business loan with low documentation. So let me give you the ins and outs, things that you can do right now to increase your chances of approval. Okay. It's really important to understand that when you apply for a startup business loan with low documentation, the lender is going to look at a few things. Okay. The lender will pay attention to your character. The lender will pay attention to your capacity. The lender will pay attention to your capital. The lender will pay attention to the conditions that are going on in your industry. And the lender will pay attention to your collateral. Okay, those are important. And the terms for those five elements are called the 5 C's. Those are the 5 C's of credit. Okay, banks, credit unions, online lenders are paying attention to those things. And if you have an LLC and you're looking for a startup business loan, the scrutiny is even deeper, but it is totally possible to get a low doc loan. Not a problem. A low doc business loan. Okay. By the way, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. We love having this kind of conversations every now and then. One thing I want to say here is that you have to be clear about what type of loan you want to have. See, when you talk about, I want to get an LLC startup business loan, there is a constellation of loans. There are different loans. Are you looking for a merchant cash advance for your LLC? Are you looking for equipment financing? Are you looking for invoice factoring? Are you looking for a regular startup business loan? Are you looking for a business line of credit? So the more you're clear about what you're looking for, the better it is, because you will be able to connect with that specific lender that will help you out. And the location is very important also. If you are in New York, don't try to apply for for a loan with a lender who is in California. I know nowadays a lot of lenders have online operations, but lending is done at the state level. So you first want to look around you. You want to look around. You want to look locally. Your bank is a fantastic place to start with. Your credit unions, the same thing. Okay, so your LLC, make sure that you actually have you open an LLC checking accounts for your company, and also an LLC savings account. So you have two things, and you want to apply for a low doc business loan at the same lender, at the same institution where you open a business checking account and business savings account. Now, let me give you the steps I want you to follow right now to be able to ace your application for an LLC startup business loan with low doc. First thing first, I want to start now with your character. It's really, really important, especially if you have a single member LLC and your LLC is a startup. Everything becomes your responsibility. All eyes are on you, boss. So if you're a solopreneur, you are listening to me right now, and you want to get your LLC startup business loan with low doc, make sure you pay attention to your character. When we talk about character, where you probably can be saying, well, why do I care about character? Because I just want, as long as my FICO score is high, I'm good to go. No, the bank is going to pay attention to, like, the bank will do some research online. They will Google your name, for example. I mean, they're not going to do like a complete background check on you, but they will do some preliminary sort of due diligence. Okay, they will actually do a regular research. They will dig into your credit report to see what kind of information is available on your credit report. When we talk about your character, for example, you don't want to move. Like if you were, let's say you actually moved out, you actually move your primary residence 3 times within 5 years. This is a sign of instability, and this could really cost you. Okay, in terms of the approval that you're searching for. By the way, boss, let me quickly remind you of today's topic. I'm talking to you about how to get a startup, an LLC startup business loan with low documentation. Okay, and it's really important to really expand, to cast the water net so that you can get the startup loan that you really deserve. But your character is really important. There are 3 things that really make up your character: your education, your reputation, okay, and most importantly, your financial stability. Okay, and the cool thing is that your education is important. If you have a master's degree, for example, chances are you can command a higher salary than if you had a high school degree, a high school diploma, right? So those are things that really are important. So when we talk about, now, some lenders will ask you to provide a resume. Oh yeah, if you apply for an LLC startup business loan, some lenders will ask you to provide a resume. For example, Calamata Capital Group does that. PNC does that. TD Bank does that. Truist. In some branches across the country, they will ask you to provide a resume. Next thing I want you to really pay attention to is your capacity. Okay, this is so important. You want to be in a situation where you are able to take on lending. See, the whole thing is you are an LLC startup. Okay, you are new. Okay, you want a loan. Okay, question is, can you repay the loan that you are asking for? How are you going to generate revenue? Have you thought about the monetization model? Because having a business model is not the only thing you need to survive in this game. You need to have a monetization model. How do you transform your services and how do you convert your services and products into revenue? Okay, so you want to be very careful here. And when we talk about capacity, we're talking also about like what you debt, like what kind of debt you have now. Okay, because it's really important to understand that you are able to you're able to have enough cash on hand to repay a loan, because the lender really wants to care about that. And the lender has several ways to actually analyze your capacity. When we talk about capacity, banks and other credit unions, they often use GDSCR. This is actually the global debt service coverage ratio to evaluate your capacity for taking on debts. And each bank may have their own unique GDSR calculation methods. Okay, so generally speaking, this metric includes taking your business cash flow and dividing it by your annualized expenses and coming up with a ratio before considering a new loan request. Because what the lender is trying to realize here is that, do you have enough bandwidth? Do you have enough bandwidth in your budget to get another loan? So if you get another loan, would you be able to be in a position where you can repay the loan with no problem? Okay, so those are important elements to pay attention to. And one thing I also want to say here is that you also want to make sure that you pay attention to your cash flows. Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Follow the money. Follow the money. And you need to understand your capacity will also play an important role in terms of how much you qualify for. Because see, you can say, well, I want 100,000. And then the lender will say, well, you know, we definitely will approve you, but we'll approve you for 30 grand or 20 grand. But whatever, no matter what, you want to take the money. Okay, take the money. Next thing I want you to pay attention to is your capital, because the lender will actually evaluate the cash position of your company and your ability to liquidate other assets. So even if you're an LLC startup, don't say because I'm a startup, I don't have enough capital, whatever. You have something. I'm sure if I did your balance sheet right now, we'll see that you have some assets. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to really see how much you have in cash. Because if you have a company, chances are you're going to put some cash into the company anyway, right? You can't just like, yeah, you know, I'm new. I haven't been generating revenue. So but you got to have some cash, some starting capital. So the bank will actually pay attention to that. And the bank will actually see whether or not you have enough assets. Okay. And one thing I want to say here is that here is the decision I want you to pay attention to right now. If you don't have capital right now, maybe it's time to actually, you know, unfold your business, your startup, your LLC startup, and wait a little bit. Because this could be a sign of stress if you are not ready and you start realizing that nobody wants to lend to you. And on top of that, you don't have funds yourself to survive. So it's really important to ask yourself whether or not this is the right time for you to actually open an LLC startup and seek a loan. Okay. And another thing I want you to do here, let me give you the approach that I want you to follow to get to actually beef up your capital. When we talk about capital, we're talking about your cash position, yes, but did you know that you also can make sure that you take into account your personal cash position? Like the LLC startup may not be in good shape financially speaking, but personally, you probably have some cash stashed away. So maybe it's important to transfer part of that cash into your LLC startup business checking accounts, so that you can actually beef up the LLC startup business's profile and increase its chances of qualifying for for a loan real fast, okay? But this depends on a case by case basis, and it depends also on your geography. If you are in North Carolina, for example, or if you are in Florida, for example, or you are in Mississippi, for example, the conditions are different than if you were in Chicago, for example, if you were in Montgomery, Alabama, or if you are in Los Angeles. So those are really important elements to take into account, so that when you apply, you know that you are really good to go. Let me talk to you about the conditions. Again, we are speaking about LLC, startup business loans, low doc. How do you actually get the low doc real fast? Okay. The conditions are so important. And when we talk about conditions, we're speaking about two things. We're speaking about internal conditions, but also external conditions. Most people just like most people analyze only external conditions. So when you talk about conditions, they're thinking right away about market conditions. Okay. And I mean, listen, I don't blame them. Like if you were to wake up every single day and you hear the news, you hear Bloomberg telling you that the economy is going down, you hear CNBC telling you that the stock market is going down, and you hear like Fox Business News, they're talking about, let's say, banks are crumbling. They are just announcing a doomsday scenario. This can be really troubling, especially if you happen to be in an industry that is currently under the I don't know how to say it. Like they are getting bad press. They're getting a bad reputation from stuff that's happening. It could be very tough to actually qualify at this moment for a business loan for your LLC startup. Okay. So because when we talk about conditions, we are referring to, trends in the industry, in the very specific industry that you're in, but also the conditions in the general economy that could encourage instability or stability. Okay, to repayment, and also pose a risk to repayment of your loan obligation. Because the lender, again, I think I've said this before, the bottom line is the lender wants to ask a question: am I going to get paid? Will I be paid at all? This is important. Like I'm giving you 20 grand, I'm giving you 25 grand. You are a startup. Am I going to see my money again? So this is important for the lender. Okay. By the way, boss, let me quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a quick convo about how do you actually get an LLC startup business loan with low doc? How do you actually play the whole game? Okay. When we talk about conditions, there is a very easy way to actually to allay fears. Like if your lenders are kind of scared about what's going on in your industry, just write a business plan. Write a business plan that talks about your hopes for the future and how you are going to survive. A business plan is a powerful marketing communication. Very powerful. And it's really important to also understand that the bottom line for you is to be clear about how to make things happen real quick. Okay. Let's talk about another element, which is collateral. So if you want to boost your chances of getting an LLC startup business loan with low documentation, see if you can not pre-qualify, see if you can increase your chances by pledging collateral. My question to you is, does your LLC right now, your LLC startup, does it have some pieces of equipment, some machinery? Like if you were to open your balance sheet right now and you were to look into the long-term assets category, do you have stuff that you can pledge for a loan? Okay, because everything happens in the PPE section for section of the balance sheet. So property, plant, and equipment. So this is a place on the balance sheet, specifically in the asset sections, that mention property, plant, and equipment. So in your PPE section, if you have some assets there that you can actually let's say, convert into collateral for a while, then you are boosting your chances of qualifying for an LLC startup business loan with low documentation. Because see, once you actually post collateral, you don't have to provide that much of paperwork, because as long as the collateral is of great value, the lender is okay, because the lender only cares about being repaid anyway, right? So if you post collateral and the lender knows that should something happen, they can always use the collateral, and they can just seize the collateral and trade it or maybe sell it. Then they're fine. But it's really important for you to be clear about the relationship you're trying to build over time. A lot of time when you're an LLC startup and you're looking for a business loan, you might forget to check your paydex score. Yeah, because even though you are a startup, maybe you have a business credit score because you don't know what kind of information your business partners are reporting on your business. So this is why right now I want you to really contact before you apply for an LLC, start a business loan with low documentation. I want you to see exactly what's in your file when it comes to your LLC, and when it comes to TransUnion, when it comes not TransUnion, when it comes to Dun & Bradstreet, when it comes to Experian, and when it comes to Equifax. Because TransUnion does not have a business credit scoring system or a business credit scoring agency. Let me give you a bonus before we leave to this conversation. It's really important to understand that when you have an LLC, you have to handle a lot of things. It's very complicated to try to grow the company, while at the same time trying to make sure you have enough cash to take care of everyday situations, like make payroll, for example. You want to be able to pay bonuses. You want to be able to pay the R&D people so that they can actually dig deeper and give you the $1 billion products. Okay, those things take time. It doesn't happen overnight. Okay, and so you need to find the cash to actually run your business. You need to find the cash to run the business appropriately. Now, sometimes you can do everything and you realize that you're not getting any traction, but you know deep inside that your business plan is there, is well written, and you're just looking for an opportunity to get a chance to implement your business plan. So you can get, in those conditions, you can get an LLC startup business loan to take care, to actually fix the poor cash flow that you currently have, that you have temporarily. You can actually get an LLC startup business loan to buy expensive equipment. Okay, because if you are in an industry that is industrially heavy, then you need to buy some fixed assets to be able to survive. And you also need to think about advertising fees because you need to advertise your business to make money. Okay, you have to spend money to make money. Simple as that. Also, you think about hiring people, because the whole thing is, if you're an LLC startup, it doesn't matter for me if you're a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC. Chances are you are an LLC, so you will need to have some cash. Okay, you will need to actually hire people. And you also need to think about your emergency loans, because you can actually get an LLC startup business loan with low doc to just constitute an emergency loan. In other words, you want to have some little bit of cash for a rainy day, so that if something happens, you know that you're surviving. And this usually happens if you are in an industry where the conditions are a little shaky. Like what we had not long ago, where banks are having problems. You have retailers filing for bankruptcy. You have a lot of stuff happening. So you got to ask yourself, what industry am I in? And is my industry secure, or is my industry a little shaky? So if your industry is shaky, then you really want to start thinking about emergency funds, boss. Emergency funds, so that God forbid something were to happen tomorrow, you're covered. Your family is covered. Okay. This is really important. So those are things I want you to pay attention to. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I just spoke to you about how to get an LLC startup business loan with low documentation. So I gave you the approach, the steps, the bonus, and now I'm just doing a recap here. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.